All right, well, why don't we get started? So again, happy Wednesday morning here on the West Coast. Happy afternoon on the East Coast. My name is Kevin Morris. I'll give a little bit of my background, but wanted to welcome everybody to the Immersed Investor webinar. Wow, lots of people come. This is great. Everyone's excited to hear from the team. So again, this is our first one of our first Immersed Investor webinars. I have a jam-packed schedule today, so I'll get things going. My name is Kevin Morris. I'm a recent advisor in addition to the Immersed team. A bit about my background, spent about 8 or 9 years sort of in a serial entrepreneur role. One of the things I did as sort of CFO president over a number of years was raise money for my own companies through Regulation A and Regulation CF. Raise sort of over $150 million for my own companies through Reg A and Reg CF. And a number of years ago, I decided to shift roles and work as an advisor and consultant to other companies like Immersed and help them navigate the equity crowdfunding process. So really excited to join the Immersed team as an advisor and here today, really helping them sort of drive their fundraising strategy to the next level. We'll get into that in a little bit. Today, I'm going to be moderating the webinar. A couple logistics. So on the bottom right of your screen, there's a questions button. Go ahead throughout the presentation, ask questions. We're going to try and get to as many as possible. It is a jam-packed house today. We will be able to follow up with you if we did not have a chance to answer your question, but please throw them in there throughout the presentation. We're going to start with some updates about the business. I'm really excited to be joined by these three very handsome gentlemen from the Immersed team. First, we have Cliff Champion, VP of Intelligent Systems. We have Ryan Yep, who's the head of sales and partnerships. And of course, the fearless leader, Renji Bijoy, founder and CEO of Immersed. And excited to hear from these three gentlemen today. So with that, Renji, I'm going to hand the mic off to you and let you get started and provide some updates about the business.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Kevin. So since we also have a lot of new faces in here, I'm going to give kind of a high level of Immerse, kind of just give you the pitch, so to speak. We also have a lot of OGs from even 7 years ago who, thank you for all the support throughout the past decade. And I know some of this will be just stuff you already know, but just bear with us and let's get everyone up to speed. So at a high level, if you don't already know what Immersed is, we are one of the most used AR/VR apps on the planet, especially in the productivity space, where if you put on any sort of AR/VR headset, like the Meta Quest Pro headsets, not just Meta Quest Pro, I'm saying Quest 3, Apple Vision Pro, all the different type of headsets out there. It connects your headset to your laptop. It spawns 5 virtual screens. You can connect your headset and your laptop and bring it to your couch or your porch or the airport or wherever, and you have 5 screens to do at all times. But it also allows you to, especially in a post-COVID world with hybrid remote teams, it allows you to have your coworkers in the same space. You can coders can code, pair program, multi-screen share, designers can whiteboard together. And so the future, what we believe, is a world where to go to the office, put on a pair of glasses, teleport to the virtual office, and when the workday is over, you take it off and you're back home with your family and your friends. Before we get deeper into that, just a background on the team. Myself, I have a background in sort of a lead software architect for companies like CNN and some other companies, but after that was focused on a PhD in computer vision and machine learning. So like self-driving cars, autonomous drones, things like that. But then quit that after about 3.5 to 4 years and just settled for the master's degree from Georgia Tech. And then started Immersed back in 2017. Kit, our chief marketing officer, he had joined us the past couple of months. He had exited his company for 7-figure amount and is now helping us sort of grow the company as well. Joe's been here for a long time. I've been here for a long time. Romeo. Cliff is a newer addition as well. He'll get into his background a little bit, but he has a master's in AI. He has an MBA as well from Peking University in China, and he is multilingual. Is really cool. But he's has a huge background in AR/VR hardware development as well, but also a lot of computer vision, a lot of large language models and machine learning, all the type of buzzwords you want to put into sort of the mix between AI and 3D spatial. You can dig into his background a little bit. Really interesting to look at that. And obviously, Ryan Yep, most of you do. He's our head of partnerships here at Immersed. And Josh, you guys have all seen him in all of our content. So we have a team of about 30-ish employees on the software side, a lot more contractors on the hardware side, many of which we're bringing on board in the coming weeks and months and quarters. as we start spinning up Visor 2 and et cetera, and even bring Visor 1 through to mass production as well. We've raised nearly $20 million to date. But the biggest obstacle here is that thing that is on her head, which is the the bigger, bulkier headset, which we'll get into in a minute. But again, on the software side, for the first 5 years of the company, we were just software. We tried to not build hardware. We mainly approached a lot of the tech giants for them to build a Visor type product, a headset that's focused on work, not something that's 2 pounds on your head, not just 2K resolution, but something that's 4K per eye and very lightweight. Because we've proven out that even with the kind of 2-pound brick headsets, we managed to get over, I guess now we're actually crossing about 1.5 million unique users. We're approaching about 2 millennia spent in our app, 2,000 plus years. And just from the amount of people being excited about this type of technology and where things are headed, we hit over 1.4 billion views just last year alone. And that the bulk of that was really just in a 6-month time span. And so we're actually targeting to hit about 5 billion views this year. And so we obviously want this, and that's with $0 spent on ads. It's just organic reach. So we're really trying to build a world in which, again, the definition of what it means to go to work or to collaborate or to be with family and friends is to put on a pair of glasses. And but as we sort of move forward, I just want you guys to know at a high level, we're more of a 3-pronged sort of business, right? See, the far left column here is just the software side of the application. And then the kind of the middle column here is talking about the Visor hardware, which we'll get into in a minute. And then the AI portion, which a lot of you are already familiar with. But that's at a high level. To dig deeper into the Immersed app itself, again, we're one of the most used apps in all of the MetaQuest store and the other stores out here. But sort of the main comparisons we can draw, for example, is Immersed third-party app on the MetaQuest store versus Meta's first-party app. Not only do we have a higher rating, but we have a lot more users. If you look at them, they have 41% 1 stars and 30% 5 stars. All the time people ask if Meta or Apple can build this, doesn't that put Immersed at risk? But I think it's a lot more than just a money problem, right? This is a focus problem. I truly believe it's how much is your team incentivized to really build this future of work, the sort of next generation computing versus the tech giants who are kind of doing everything under the sun, and it's mainly just a PM at a company who you're really competing against. And so, yeah, I mean, the kind of the numbers speak for themselves. The reason why we really care about this problem is because we're trying to build software that comes alongside the habits that we believe people already have. Instead of focusing on sort of the niche VR gaming hobbyist world, we're focusing on the world of everyone who uses a computer for work, which we believe is a lot harder. When it comes to the hardware, this is the piece that we truly believe is important. It's been difficult for us to get into the double digits of millions of users, but instead, we just want to work with the tech giants to figure out how do we sort of build a device that has a, sorry if there's background noise, but I'll try my best to stay focused here. The different tech giants that have worked on different types of hardware have created sort of generalized headsets that are good for gaming and training and entertainment, maybe tertiarily work. Again, that's why the headsets are a lot more bulky. If we mainly focus on a headset that is really just sort of laser focused on the work use case, we can cut a lot of corners on size, weight, cost, etc. When we first announced Visor, you just seen in the first week, over $500,000 worth of pre-orders came in, many of which don't even own headsets. And we initially were wanting to target about 100,000 devices sold in the first year. So say, for example, we hit mass production later this summer, and for about a year of execution, our goal is about 100,000 devices sold in that first year, which at about $1,000 per headset, call it 100 million top line revenue, which would be great. But one of our partners, I won't name names, but one of our partners mentioned, based on their internal modeling, they've worked on pretty much every headset that you've seen out there, minus the Apple headset. And they mentioned that they're actually projecting about 1 million devices sold in the first year. And so obviously I'm like, that'd be great. Obviously I've never built hardware before, and or at least a mass produced type of hardware. Just all my hardware experience is mainly prototypes in grad school. But if we can hit 1 billion top line revenue, that'd be great. So we'll kind of see where that's headed. The cool thing is, even though we've played around a bit with our business model for the sake of allowing Visor to be a lot more accessible for people who can't afford a $1,000, $1,500 headset up front, we've actually allowed people to now spend about $500 up front and then sign up for a 2-year subscription to help kind of offset some of the costs. And then obviously our goal is to continue to get them to renew after their subscription term is over. based on the services that we can offer them, like Curator and some of the other AI pieces that we'll talk about later here. Maybe Ryan, you want to talk a little bit about, get a little bit deeper into some of the things you've been seeing on the Visor side?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Renji. So to date, enterprise adoption has really been limited to niche use cases such as training, really largely due to the form factor and the weight of the device. Nothing exists on the market today for long-term, everyday computer work. You guys might be asking the question, if you're not familiar with the application, Immerse, why are people choosing to spend upwards of 40 to 60 hours a week wearing a really heavy general purpose headset? Well, the reasons why is because it's really given people a new way to engage with their work. So we've seen numerous stories of this new way of working, helping improve people's focus, particularly if you have ADD or ADHD. It's given them flexible ergonomics. So sometimes there might be some physical impairments that people may have that can affect their work. And so this gives them some of that flexibility. It also gives them a sense of privacy. So we're probably accustomed to, especially when we travel, having some privacy screens on our monitors. And whether you're at the airport or at a coffee shop or even on an airplane, wearing a AR/VR headset allows you to give you those multiple virtual displays while also the sense of privacy. And then it's really like working with noise canceling for your eyes. Initially, our user base had primarily been focused on serving developers or coders, but over the years, it's really expanded to basically any kind of computer work. So whether that's students or sales professionals, finance professionals, marketing, C-suite executives who are always on the go, even folks that are doing some day trading as well. Want to just kind of introduce the Visor. It's a 4K per eye, the lightest 4K headset on the market or about to come on the market. It's really based off of 8+ years of real world customer insights from our VR application. These lenses deliver more pixels than a 4K TV per eye. So that's pretty crazy. It weighs only 6 ounces. It's really the first spatial computer that our friends and family actually want to use. And really the need for a purpose-built enterprise headset is real and will likely drive the success of spatial computing for both the enterprise market and consumer. We've got a video we want to share with you guys on some first impressions that some of our partners were able to experience with Visor.
Awesome. All right, so get this. All right. One thing I want to do, it's a big difference. It's a huge difference. I immediately feel it on my cheeks. My cheeks, man. So here's the thing. If I wouldn't have been, this is why I was so pregnant to be in a room to see just the older generation of people to be in a room. And for there to be, XR is not something, how can I say this respectfully? XR is not something that is normally easy for someone to pick up. For them to still want and stand there and wait to actually be in it and then go through all the bumps and scrapes and still be like, I would use this every single day. That to me sold me even more on the fact that if someone older generation wants to use it, then of course someone who's my age and younger, it's gonna be like it's a no-brainer. Boom, boom. No. Yeah, it's like no weight. It's like the weight difference is so different. Immediately, like I felt the cheeks, man. But it's not on my cheeks right here, and that's perfect. We just proved that just now. I mean, I took it on, put it off, took it on, put it off, took it on, put it off. I just was in the room with seeing people take it on, put it off, take it on, put it off. It's not like you switched a headset behind it. Tricked me like I'm unhooking it and rehooking it in a second. It's like the reality is it's running right now. And every time I put it on, it was running exactly. My screens were in the position they were running. You know, if you've already put money on this, you have nothing to regret. Everything you wanted, everything you wanted from this device, even in its current state and what they're doing and where they're heading, is exactly what you want from it. And those who have not bought it, if you're cared all about clarity, if you care anything about, lightweight, and then not just that, just the possibility of being on that first wave. This buying this as Ryan, you said you took yours back. Being an early adopter is two things. It's saying I'm curious to know what the future looks like, and then am I a stakeholder of what the future looks like? And I use this. I keep it because I want to be reminded when this gets better and these get better and Quest gets better to say, well, I was there using this heavy. I'm gonna say it. Headset. And now look where we're at today. So. This is the worst the Visor will ever be. That's the reality. And it still nails all the promises of what it said it was going to do. So I'm proud of y'all, man. Honestly, like I didn't feel like immediately when I put this on, I literally felt the cheeks. And then like this, it's perfect to where it's not heavy on my face. That's why I really wasn't really bothered by it. Just like, yeah, okay, yeah. You know, I use the X-Row glasses. I've used Rokit in the past. I've used multiple, of course, the whole, you move and then your screen is gone kind of thing. This is 6th off. It's like I'm moving. That's why I was on purpose moving my head around trying to see, is this a trick? Am I really in 3 off here? And so doing that, and then it's standalone. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Choo-choo. Cool. Okay. Yeah. That's nice.
Thank you.
So the OS is only going to get better. You know, you talking about putting the browser on there, getting the 3D cursor in there. I'm just like, the sky's the limit. You gotta just ship the first iteration. You got to get it in people's hands, you know. And then once you have the users using it and they'll start finding things, I mean, bro, I have no issue with recommending this to people. So.
All right, we'll get this back to Renji.
Yeah, so this part wasn't covered necessarily. We're going to talk a little bit about real quick, and then we'll get to the next topic. Is one of the biggest issues with a lot of these headsets is people just don't want to wear them in public. They look very big and bulky, and when it comes to Visor, we focused on thickness, weight, and also aesthetic design, right? So it's 100. The Quest 2 is 100% thicker, aka twice as thick as the Visor headset. So like the Quest 2 headset's about 83 millimeters from front of headset to the eyeball. And then with Visor, it's about 41 millimeters, so less than half. With Quest 3, it's about 55% thicker than the Visor. Apple Vision Pro is 55% thicker. And so this is something that it was really cool. I won't name names, but some of the corporate executives as well said that the Visor is actually the first headset that they've actually wanted to pre-order themselves, and they've put in their own pre-orders, as opposed to they will try, like the Apple Vision Pro, they'll try the MetaQuest headsets, but they're never going to use it. They're not going to actually buy it for themselves. Visor was the first headset they actually ended up buying for themselves. When it comes to the weight, it is your iPhone is 55% heavier. The 15 Pro Max, I believe, was the one that I weighed. It's 55% heavier than the Visor, right? So about 7 ounces versus 6 ounces, or sorry, with the actual case on, I believe it was about 9 ounces. The Quest 3 headset is 150% heavier than the Visor, and then the Apple Vision Pro is twice the weight. I think about 3 times the weight, 200% heavier. now we can kind of get into Curator. As I mentioned before, the business has the software that we've been working on the first 5 years, now the hardware, which is now getting into the hands of customers, and Curator, which is call it an automated assistant, right? It's something that I believe that can get us past just giving me sort of a private distraction-free workspace, how to get myself to focus more, how to get myself to be more productive. And so when it comes to Curator, I've had executive assistants in the past, and it's not their fault, but they're not 24/7 on. They don't have perfect memory. And so when building Curator, the goal was, how do I make myself a Renji 2.0, Renji times two? For example, the holy grail of what we believe this type of automated system would be is a Curator or AI that says, hey, Renji, based on the past 3 weeks worth of meetings, you have these 10 tasks like I get done before next week's meetings. Give a 30-minute slot. You're going to knock these first couple out. And so that's what we are wanting to show off with this initial demonstration of our computer using agent, which is something that Cliff has been working on as well, which, by the way, feel free to check out the first several use cases. This is already posted on Twitter. Instead of posting the whole link here, just go to x.com/Renji Bijoy. That's myself. I believe it's the second tweet that's on there. You'll see the actual video, and for the interest of time, won't play the whole thing here, but do check that out. Maybe Cliff, is there something you want to add about that as well?
Yeah, I'm really excited about Curator. It's one of our newest product announcements, and obviously assistants and voice assistants, not a new idea, but what's changing the game is obviously large language models, LLMs. But LLMs are converging toward commodity status, right? So why am I excited about Curator? There's two things that I think we're doing uniquely at Immersed. One is, big tech doesn't necessarily have the reputation of moving fast, but for our size, we're able to move really fast and really nimble. That's one. Two is we're fundamentally thinking about assistance not as being confined to your 2D desktop, but in VR as well. And so our first principles thinking as we approach the design of Curator is really focused on the now in some sense, but also the future, which is spatial. So I'm really excited about Curator.
Yeah, and so as we think about, and Cliff will share more about how that leads into where we're headed. But as we think about the progression of how the previous technology stack that we've worked on in years past has sort of laid the groundwork to enable the next generation of what we're building. This is what we truly believe is going to make Immersed something that's not just ubiquitous for productivity, but also start bringing a lot of these types of aspects of AI into the physical world. So I don't know if you guys caught the keynote that Jensen Huang was talking or was doing at CES this year. He was talking about historically, we've kind of just done different sort of things for perceiving the world, using whether it be Teslas on the road or glasses on people's faces or visor type devices. And for us, now that we own the hardware stack, we also have cameras on the headset that ultimately can perceive the world around you. And then with the advent of large language models, can give a lot of semantic understanding and even vision language models as well. And so now that we own the full software and hardware stack, that really enables us to add a certain level of intelligence on top of that, aka Curator AI, a lot of stuff that we're working on, and really leads us to how do we interact with AI in the physical world, right? Like if I think about ChatGPT on my phone, right, it doesn't live life with me. Like all the time, I wish ChatGPT already had the context of things that I've been working on or context that I've been in or conversations that I've had. And ChatGPT wasn't always on. It wasn't always the AI assistant that I could just ping saying, hey, what did my cousin say last week about XYZ, whatever, what did one of my employees say about XYZ? It's not always on. I have to input a wall of text to get something valuable out of it. And so now that Visor is something that is just something that you're using for your everyday work, all that type of information is something that can be fed back into it in order to recall anything in the past or proactively prompt you to be a lot more effective moving forward. And so you've probably seen a pretty huge wave of companies like Tesla, Figure, even Boston Dynamics, Atlas. If you saw kind of the robot doing parkour and stuff, there's a company called Unitree out of China as well. A lot of these companies are trying to bring AI into the physical world, right? If you're not aware of this, half of all of GDP on planet Earth, right, the $100 trillion GDP total that Earth is, 50% of that, so 50 trillion of that GDP is human physical labor. And as we're heading towards, as even Immersed starts branching out from office work to then, sort of call it, remote physical labor jobs as well, bringing that into kind of the work that we're focused on as well. Actually, let me do this. Let me share this screen as well. You'll kind of see, I don't know if you could see my screen here. Let me switch tabs. Yeah, you can see my screen. Okay, cool. You'll see that even companies like Tesla, who's training Optimus, their robot, to do human tasks, you actually have to wear a VR headset to teleoperate or remotely control the robot to, do this task of take a battery and move it here, or take stuff from this bin and sort it to this other bin. And so they're no longer using these sort of big, bulky head-mounted displays. They're actually using MetaQuest Pros, Apple Vision Pros, and different types of headsets. And now that Visor is coming to market, a lot of these companies are inquiring about, hey, how do we use your type of device instead, which our employees can actually wear 40, 50, 60 hours a week, every week, rather than the 2-pound brick things that they've been wearing historically. And so because Immersed has figured out a way to incentivize customers to wear these devices, these kind of perception sensor suites in the real world and indoor and outdoor environments in some cases, if anything, Immersed is poised to have the world's strongest sort of data engine for being able to get ahead of this and really train humanoid robotics and bring this to the world. And so that's why we're really building out our AI team. Cliff and Romeo on our team and myself are people who have grad school degrees in artificial intelligence. But as we obviously continue to lock in additional funding, the goal is for us to play actually a pretty big role here. And so you'll see some more product offerings. You can, again, I kind of spill the beans a little bit from the standpoint of we've mainly focused on office work. We're looking at what does it look like for us to branch out even further to physical labor work, but that's remote via humanoid robotics. And so you'll see more announcements for that in the future. But it's something that really only Immersed can do. One of our tech partners, I love the way they put it. They said that if any company wants to buy headsets, the only options they have right now is either buying the MetaQuest headset, any of those headsets. That's sort of like a cheap gaming toy thing. They can't buy the Vision Pro because, after taxes per headset, it's about $4,000. Visor is really the only product on the market that is standalone. That's about $1,000 per headset, and it's higher quality than Apple Vision Pro. It's lightweight, and it's something that people aren't embarrassed to wear in the office or in public. And so here, let me get back to slides here. The cool thing is, as the tech giants continue to keep pushing this vision forward of the next generation of computing, right? First the desktop, and the laptop, and the smartphone, and now a pair of glasses, Immersed continues to benefit. If you look here on the screenshots on the left, this pitch was the pitch we've been giving for the first 5 years of the company. And even the tech giants back then would call us crazy. Like, why are you wasting your time building this thing? And now you see that literally all of them are pushing this vision forward. And so, I think I saw one of the questions here. People are asking, how do we get ahead of, or how do we make sure that the tech giants don't beat us out in this sort of competition? One thing I've really noticed is in years past, pretty much what they do is we come out with the kind of vision or the idea, we execute it on it some, and then they quickly try to copy. And so I'm okay if they copy our ideas. I'm just glad that they just still have their own. Because they're also not incentivized to, right? They're focused on their legacy businesses that keep the lights on at those companies. Whereas for us, this is our business. We are fully focused on this. So, you'll see press all over the internet about that. We could talk about, I know we're already 30 minutes in, so we don't have to get super deep on the market side of things. But again, as I mentioned previously, instead of focusing on the niche VR gaming hobbyist world, which it is what it is, and Meta will continue pushing that forward, we're focused on the world of everyone who uses technology for work, like laptops, smartphones, and in the future, you'll see humanoid robotics plugged into a lot of this stuff as well. It's a much, much larger market. Okay, so let's quickly shift gears and see what's next on the agenda here. I think it'll be good for us to get deeper into what our vision is moving forward. Let's do this. Let's talk a little bit more about the human robotics side of things. Maybe Cliff, did you have some that you wanted to talk about a little bit more deeply there before we move on to the funding?
Let me add on to a little bit of what you said there, especially on the data advantage side. I think right around the corner, lines will blur in really interesting ways. And what I mean by that is how you think about your day on your desktop or your laptop or your phone will start to blur with how you think about the rest of your day when you're not looking at a screen. And automation is going to be the through line through all of this in a way that's going to change how we live. But for automation to be successful, there's a lot of key ingredients that go into it. And I won't go through all those now, but one of those is contextual understanding. And so a lot of what we're doing for Curator today lays the groundwork for contextual understanding that's critical for the robotics side. So there's a lot of win-win there. But also just thinking about from a user perspective, how your day will be fluid. You know, whether you're wearing a headset, whether you're in front of your computer, whether you're on the go, context matters, and the amount of data that we're going to have is really special. And so I think that really uniquely positions us. The other thing I'll say too, since Renji, you asked me to highlight a little bit of my background as well. You know, I first dove into AI at an interesting inflection point where deep neural networks were finally proving themselves to be the next big thing. But it was a unique time because forward-looking, it was deep neural networks, but behind me, it was studying quote unquote classic AI. I think a lot of us have heard a kind of change in the winds lately, which is this big question: will large language models continue to deliver on their promise toward AGI? And more and more of the leading experts are starting to bring back to the conversation more of the classic AI thinking, not to abandon LLMs, but to think about how do we combine classic AI thinking with everything that LLMs are capable of. So it's really exciting for me to be joining Immersed right now because of my day one in AI really was a foot in both worlds of AI. And now I think it's going to be really critical that we think about this kind of hybrid approach to achieving everything that we hope to achieve here. So really excited to be here, really excited for Curator and robotics. And thanks, Renji, back to you.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think at a high level, when we think about even just the way that users just sort of interact in our environments, like there's a lot that we learn from user behavior, even just the way that we knew how to build Visor. Like as we were looking at user behavior data, we were understanding that a lot of users were muting, the MetaQuest headsets, not even using the audio, they're just using like their AirPods or whatever else. And that's how we knew for Visor, we didn't want to have onboard audio. And so as we continue to observe user behavior, we really do have sort of a very useful sort of user data set. And when I think about when I think about how even just moving forward, like we don't want to be a company that sells user data, raw data to all these other companies. We'd rather train neural networks internally here, make products better for customers based on users using Curator, making Curator better, and then using the knowledge from that in order to then train neural networks necessary for kind of evolving the company. Again, for us, we don't really we're not the type of company like Meta that kind of, or maybe not Meta doesn't do this explicitly, or maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know. But for us, we care more about how do we sort of incentivize customers to find value in the products, and then for those who want to opt in to help us train our neural networks to be more effective moving forward. This is very similar to how, I guess I'll give you an analogy. You think about companies kind of in the self-driving car world like Tesla and Waymo. Waymo has employees who are driving cars to scan the roads, and they can mainly kind of operate just in the city limits of certain pre-scanned roads. When you think about Tesla, I love the line that Elon says. He says, our cars can drive on roads they've never seen before. Reason being is because, the 7 or 8 million Teslas on the road today, Elon and his team have figured out a way to incentivize customers to train their neural networks of the vehicles, manually driving. And that trains neural networks on the vehicles to then, sends it up to the cloud, makes the sort of master neural network better, and they push back down to the fleet. When you think about humanoid robotics moving forward, you have a lot of these companies who, like even Tesla here, going back to this tab, you see them, they're kind of employing, their employees are the ones who are manually getting robots to do kind of these one-off tasks. Whereas for us, we've incentivized customers at scale to wear a headset. So similarly, we're kind of taking the Tesla approach, but for humanoid robotics moving forward, whereas Tesla today is now taking the Waymo approach, which is how do we employ people to go do this manually? And for us, we can say we have neural nets that can power humanoid robotics in scenarios they've never seen before. So that's why I'm super excited moving forward. We're not the type of company that has to sell user data in order to make revenue. For us, we really train our, call it Curator AI, to know how to operate in the real world in a way that other companies just don't have access to because they don't have the sort of sensor suite, aka the Visor, that people are incentivized to wear because they get value out of it. I'm sure there's some questions people are asking about that, but hopefully that gives you a high level on that. I do want to talk about kind of the moving forward, what we're kind of the plan for earlier shareholders. What's our plan for funding moving forward? Again, as I mentioned, our tech partners had mentioned, hey, like by the time you get Visor out to mass production later this summer, and even if you do sell 100,000 devices or 1 million devices in the first year, you should anticipate or expect Meta, Apple, or all the other tech giants to buy a Visor, crack it open, reverse engineer it, and use the learnings from that to iterate on their next version of their headset. And we have probably less than a 24 month clock before they come out with their versions of Visor. And well, first off, that doesn't scare me from the standpoint of for Visor 2, I already know how that's going to be an order of magnitude better than Visor 1. I like even for Visor 1, even though it kind of is leaps and bounds better than any alternative out there. Even I myself, as sort of the developer behind this, I myself know how Visor could be better, and I wish it was better. It's great for what it was, but at some point you have to kind of just pause, ship the product, and then keep moving, and then work on the next iteration, as opposed to just like never shipping Visor 1 just to make it better, better, better. For Visor 2, I already know by the time Meta or Apple try to come out with their version of Visor, I already know how Visor 2 is going to leap step all of that. But on top of that, our tech partners are saying we'll either sell the company or figure out a way to raise tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, because now Apple and Meta are going to be directly competing with you on this as well. Again, it's not just a mere money problem, but it is important for us to find ways to continue to raise additional money or get acquired by one of these other tech giants that we've been talking to for acquisition. But that's why previously we did look at the idea of us going public via SPAC last year, because there was quite a bit of capital tied to that deal. We talked to quite a bit of venture capitalists who were talking about what it looks like for them to fund large sums of money as well. But a lot of that seemed to kind of screw over a lot of our historical kind of investor base, a lot of the retail investors or Reg CF, we funder investors that we've had. And for us moving forward, we want to take an approach that is win for all. Because also, obviously, like my mom, my friends, my family, like everyone put their money in through our WeFunder rounds. And so obviously, I really even have a personal sort of investment, so to speak, in those people. And I want to make sure that everyone's taken care of moving forward. So rather than just like getting a term sheet from a random DC that dilutes the heck out of everyone else, I'd rather do this in a way that really preserves investment dollars moving forward and gives people the ability to liquidate their shares. So whether it be us looking at ramping up revenue and then filing for our traditional IPO, or even before then, doing sort of like a secondary marketplace type of thing where people can sell shares just on the secondary marketplace places. Like I mentioned earlier on this call, that 1.4 billion views on social media was just organic. Imagine if we had an Invest Now button on our website with 1.4 billion people seeing that. Even if 1% of 1% of people saw that and invested, bought shares off of previous investors, and they had now those shares, that's 14,000 people who would have come to our website and actually traded shares with people who already invested in the company. And to date, for a benchmark, we've only had 4,000, 4,500-ish investors to date. Of the 20 million that we raised, 16 million was crowdfunded. That's only represented about 4,500 people. So I can't even imagine if 14,000 people wanted to have access to those shares. And so we are looking at what it looks like for us to list on secondary marketplaces for previous investors to find liquidity. But also, even if some people want to hold on even longer, they're welcome to, or sell some of it and hold on to the rest of it. And for us, we do desire, if we don't sell the company first, we do desire to go public, probably via a traditional IPO as opposed to SPAC. So that's why we are sprinting towards monetization for Visor 1, get that out to market, get a head start on Visor 2. And again, though we've talked to several different companies about acquisitions, we want to make sure that our investors are taken care of, right? So we want to make sure that it's an acquisition price that is an up round, not a down round. It's a meaningful return for investors. But this is actually partly why we had brought Kevin on board to come alongside us as well. Immersed is one of the only companies that have raised $16 million crowdfunded with $0 spent on marketing. And now moving forward, most people spend quite a bit of money on marketing moving forward. And so, and typically through the sort of Reg A plus approach, which is sort of a larger version of a Reg CF approach. So this current Reg CF that's open is at a $200 million valuation. The Reg A plus moving forward is going to be more similar to the valuation that we had last year from the SPAC offers that we received. And so we'll announce the specifics of the actual valuation when the Reg A Plus is approved. But obviously, I guess people kind of don't realize right now, the current WeFunder is quite a bit of a discount compared to where a Reg A Plus is going to be. And so as far as the approach that we're going to be taking, likely we'll do kind of a smaller Reg A Plus. That'll be about $25-ish million. We'll kind of see where we land with that. You're allowed to raise about $75 million through Reg A Plus. And so because we're going to continue to just get more and more of our eyeballs, if we can hit 5 billion views on social media, if we'll continue to start doing more kind of paid ads and placements for the the company investment, not only in Visor, but also kind of our broader initiatives, that'll get way more investor eyeballs than before. And then hopefully the second portion will help us max out the 75 million total. So all I'd say, this is not something that we take lightly. We want to make sure that Immersed can continue to execute on all fronts, get new investors in, be able to, for those who want to exit their position in Immersed. And great, you had an awesome, ROI from the earlier evaluations. And then moving forward, the goal is for us to, be one of the tech giants that have figured out how to make this be the definition going to work. And then when it comes to the humanoid robotics world moving forward, bringing, candidly AGI to the world. I don't really know exactly what that looks like, but obviously we're taking steps in that direction. So we'll talk more about what that looks like for particular exit strategies for different investors. But yeah, if you have any additional questions, you can also email invest@immersed.com. Let me see what else here is good to talk through. It might be good. We have about 18 minutes. Okay. Maybe Kevin, let's go through some Q&A.
Yeah, absolutely. I think let's as you closed up with some of the sort of Reg A financing questions. Why don't we segue to a couple of those? I'll just add, Renji, obviously my experience is a lot in crowdfunding, with the fact that you guys have been able to raise this much equity capital from a lot of people on this call without ad spend is, one, fantastic. Two, a testament of how passionate, the audience and the crowd is about the product. When we do start to, promote a Reg A, once it's qualified, we will be using advertising dollars. That works very well for any company, but especially a company that's consumer facing, like, again, no brainer to the folks on the call. You're also going to be marketing the investment opportunity and the product in the company. So, it's super exciting that that's going to time, well with, as you're launching product and as you're out in the market. So I just want to sort of emphasize that that's a winning strategy that I've seen a lot of. Sort of related to financing and exits. One of the questions we have here is, any future interest in a buyout from an institutional whale or staying the course and taking over the Immersed world? Are you protected by a moat of patents to stay viable in this niche?
Yeah. So I'll answer the patent question first. So the way that we view patents is, so yes, first off, we are patenting everything as much as we can, as quick as we can. But I particularly wouldn't look at patents as protection as much as I would see it as IP stacking or value asset stacking, right? As soon as one company makes a minor tweak in the technological implementation, then they're kind of in the clear. And it's kind of like, okay, well, what could we have done to make that patent more effective? And so, yes, we'll continue to do that. Whatever effects it can have on protecting us, that will continue to do what it can, but we can't really bank on that protecting us, right? We have to obviously just build a better product and build a company that has value. So patents really just help, or IP stacking is what we call it. Intellectual property stacking is just, it's value, sort of asset creation. When we think about sort of, I think they mentioned like a whale buyout or something like that. I guess I can't name names yet because a lot of these are still in kind of behind the scenes conversations. There's a prominent computing company that you guys have heard of before that we were having deeper conversations about them buying us because they want to kind of keep up with the younger, newer spatial computing tech companies whose names are pretty massive as well. But sort of these legacy computing companies, they want to stay relevant. And clearly those legacy companies are not going to be able to do that from within. They kind of have to acquire a company like ours to make that possible. So we're going to keep those conversations going. Simultaneously, we can't force them to give us a deal that we want. We can't force them to give us a deal that our WeFunder investors are excited about. And so that's why we're just going to continue to keep building the company, keep growing the company's value, and sprint towards a traditional IPO. So it's kind of a race condition where, it's kind of the best of all worlds. It's kind of a first world problem that we will sprint towards traditional IPO in the next couple of years. Again, the reason why we decided to shut down the previous SPAC thing is because even our VCs who were sold on that idea as well, we come to find out towards the end that there was a high, sort of a likely chance of a pump and dump where WeFunder investors and even our team would be locked into our shares until after the dump, and we're just not going to do that. So all that to say, moving forward, for us, we are going to just keep ramping up our revenue, get to a point where traditional IPO is advantageous, and then move from there.
Great. One other question I saw here, and you sort of touched on it, but I want to make it clear to folks. So this round right now, I'll just go ahead and answer it since you already mentioned it a bit. This round right now on WeFunder, people have been investing into a convertible note at a $200 million valuation. The way that works is that essentially locks in your valuation. So when the company raises additional capital in a Reg A at a higher valuation, those of you who've invested, your basically investment will convert as if you invested at a discount to the Reg A round or $200 million valuation. So right now, everyone is sort of holding convertible debt. That debt, in theory, will convert into shares of stock at a discount to what a planned Reg A will be selling at. So again, clarity on that. Any sort of logistical questions about any of that, feel free to email us at invest@immersed.com. But I know there's some, it can be a bit complicated.
Oh, by the way, I saw a question about Visor Shipping. Take a look at our blog. We just announced, I think last week, some updates on shipping, but there's some in the wild, and we're going to continue ramping that up, and then sort of shooting for mass production right after the summer.
Cool. Well, let's get into some product sort of company related questions. One here: are there provisions for those of us? Luckily, not me so far, but probably soon as I get older. But for those of us wearing prescription eyeglasses.
Yeah, so they're going to be sort of slip-in prescription inserts that you can buy with your Visor. So we'll make announcements for that as well. We already have those partnerships locked in. So yeah, again, we just have to read that blog post. You'll see about quality assurance and making sure that the product is where we need it to be. But yes, we already locked in partnerships for. You don't actually put glasses under the Visor. You have these sort of prescription inserts. They're kind of just like a circular lens that lays on top of the Visor displays, and you just put them on. It'll be your prescription.
Nice. Next question. Why do ADHD Immersed users find Immersed helpful? Also, is Visor better for them than a bulky headset?
Ryan, why don't you take that one?
Yeah, so Immersed users just find that, particularly those with ADHD, find Immersed really useful because when you hop into a immersive virtual environment, it helps them be removed from physically being able to see the distractions around them, as well as there's a social component. So something that we didn't really actually touch base on earlier in this call was not only do we help individuals be more productive with having the multi-screen environment on any computer, but also you can actually work alongside other people that are also in headset as well. And so there's actually some studies out there that mention that social component can actually help people be more productive and focused in that setting. So, yeah.
Great. Next question. What milestones does the company aim to achieve with new capital, both on this round and a planned Reg A plus?
Yeah, so the current round is to really start building out our AI team. Again, there's only 3 of us with grad school degrees in AI, and so we can't take on the likes of OpenAI and others with just 3 people. And you can't even count me because I'm doing everything else at Immersed too. So I'm only here and there on the AI side. And so really kind of building out that side of things. Also getting ahead of Visor 2 development, right? Like, again, as I mentioned, one of these tech partners that we're working with mentioned we have about a 2-year clock starting this summer before the other tech giants get their versions of Visor shipped. And so we're already wanting to get ahead of Visor 2. We know exactly how we're going to execute on that. Now it's just a function of getting the capital in place for R&D to get that developed and sprint towards mass production for that in the coming years as well. So kind of building out that. And then when it comes to the data engine of getting ahead of this new wave of bringing AI into the real world, really kind of building out Curator to be not only an amazing product for users, but sort of this next sort of to be announced product as well that we're going to be talking about. It's not going to be a physical product. It's going to be, again, broadening, not just focusing on office remote work type of solutions, but also kind of what is remote physical labor jobs? What does that look like? Broadening Immersed user base and use cases as well. So mainly
kind of
focus on those milestones.
Yeah. Kind of on that, right? Do you guys have any comments on the increased pushback to physical office that you've been seeing, whether it's JP Morgan or the U.S. government?
Yeah, I'll do a part 1, and then maybe Ryan, you want to do a part 2. Part 1, I will say that for us, no matter what, we truly see that hybrid remote work is here to stay. So maybe not everyone working from home. Candidly, I say this a million times, but I'm not really building Immersed because I love remote work. I hate remote work. I'm building it because I'm trying to get everyone to feel like they're physically together, even though they're not. And so if we're trying to build a product that allows 3 people who are at home, 4 people in the office. How do you give all 7 people that uniform experience? That's what we're targeting.
Yeah, on the enterprise side of things, a lot of the conversations, interestingly enough, are about maybe 70% of customers that are looking at Visor and Immerse, whether we're in the POC stage or further along. It's actually for in-office work. So as you could imagine, being able to have multiple virtual displays and such a like really small form factor, it can really reduce the cost and overhead in IT and hardware costs. And so this is not just a solution for remote or hybrid teams, or this is actually something that could be used in office as well.
I see a question real quick. I was asking about B2B approach. There are already companies talking about buying bulk orders, and some have already asked what it looks like. I guess we can't give numbers. It actually blows through what our projections, what I thought our projections would be with one, especially one of these tech giants. So that's already going to be happening.
That's great. Let's see here. What else? I want to, for those people who came in a bit late, can you, walk through a bit for the group, your sort of current business model, and how you guys, how you have generated revenue and how you see that shifting over time?
Yeah. So historically, we had tried to figure out building just the software and try to get to, tens or hundreds of millions in revenue. And again, if you think about how the MetaQuest store is predominantly targeting children and gaming, well, to try to sell a productivity subscription software to children, probably not effective, right? And so we didn't know that, 7 years ago when we first started this, we didn't know that Meta would start taking more and more of the focus towards children and gaming. And so that's why we tried to work with some of these tech giants for them to build Visor and for them to build a work productivity kind of more professional type of product. And so one thing that's been crazy is even with Visor, like before Visor, like we just weren't able to break through sort of the single-digit million order of magnitude in dollars of revenue. And with Visor, we blew through that, which is really cool. So, and we're going to continue to blow through that. This is more revenue than we've ever seen before in the company's history. And so that's been really exciting. And when we're looking at some of these figures that these tech partners are sort of modeling their sort of projections, it's way more than anything we've ever seen before. And I mean, our team has been, it's been a new sort of wind in our sails. And then now when it comes to Curator and how that sort of the Visor product is a sensor suite or almost like a data generation type of product at scale, I mean, I can't even imagine where this thing is headed. So hopefully that answers the revenue question.
Yeah, no, that's great. How do you guys plan to maintain your competitive advantage in such a rapidly evolving spatial computing industry?
Yeah, when I think about the tech giants, I mean, again, this is not really a money problem. It's more of a focus problem. And the cool thing is they keep copying everything that we're working on. So that shows that they see us as a source of inspiration, that they don't have it from within. And again, it's not Renji versus Zuckerberg or Renji versus Tim Cook. It's Renji and his team versus some random PM who's looking forward to 4:30 p.m. so they can clock out. Our team is obsessed over this thing, right? Our team of founders. So I'm not super worried about competing against the tech giants. I think if I had to be as honest or sober-minded as possible to think about, or self-aware as possible of what would be the highest risks, it would be just our own internal issues, meaning if something happens to me or any of the key employees, that would probably be the biggest risk to the company. That's why we're continuing to hire and try and distribute as much of the risk as possible. Candidly, I'm a little too core to every single team at the company, and that's just not scalable, which is why I brought people like Cliff and Kit on the team and others. So I'm really excited to really kind of obviously get more funding behind this, build out the leadership team, and continue to ramp up to scale.
Nice. Here's one. Can you explain more on how you plan to get into the humanoid robotics space?
Yeah. Again, so here, let me do this. Let me go back to this slide right here. It'll hopefully the picture will show a little bit better. Humanoid robotics is not like a random thing. It's very coincidentally, serendipitously kind of perfect for us. So again, historically, we started on just the software. I could use a MetaQuest headset and have multiple screens. Now I'm focused, but the headset's too heavy and no one else wants to use that, right? We can't get past the single-digit million user mark. We need to get to tens or hundreds of millions of users. So we started building Visor. And with Visor, now we kind of get past that barrier of something that people can wear in public. It's only 6 ounces. It's higher quality resolution than Apple's headset. It's only about $1,000. But then sort of now that I get past sort of this productivity thing, how do I make myself a Renji times 2? that's where we get into Curator AI. It's sort of the rest of the brain that I wish, kind of a perfect memory recall sort of thing, something that can be proactive with me and get me on top of my work all the time. If you're familiar with Halo, it's kind of like the Cortana that we were all wishing that we had. Something that again has 24/7 is 24/7 on, perfect memory, and something that's very proactive with you. And so what that does is, because we now have access to the cameras on Visor and we could see your physical environment, now you can bring AI into your physical world. So say, for example, I'm sitting at my desk at home in my office, and I have my keys or my wallet there. And then I go to my kitchen counter the next day and I work out of a coffee shop or something or somewhere else. And I ask Curator, hey, where did I leave my credit card? And Curator says, well, the last time I saw it, it was XYZ in this place. Obviously, there's a lot of settings that users can configure what they do and don't want Curator to be able to pick up on. But what that does is it really brings, call it this large language model, like having ChatGPT in the physical world. It helps me it allows me to even walk up to a coworker, and as I have a conversation with them, Curator is able to index and analyze all that information so we can recall it weeks or months or years later. And so now that we get a sort of a broader understanding of how AI and the physical world really connect, then you start talking about, well, when it comes to humanoid robotics, here, let me go to this tab here for those of you who missed this. Companies like Tesla and others are actually using MetaQuest Pros, Apple Vision Pro headsets to embody a humanoid robot to teach it one-off tasks. But because we have sort of the largest data set, human movement data set in all of history of how people really sort of operate in indoor environments, along with semantic understanding of what's necessary and needed in that environment, Immersed is sort of poised to have the most relevant data set to bring AI into the physical world. And so that's why companies like Tesla and Figure and sort of these humanoid robotics industry leaders are looking at headsets like, obviously they can't use the Tecton bricks on their head because employees just don't want to wear that. Visor is really the only option for that. And so that's kind of how Immersed has figured out a way to build sort of this data engine to lead us towards humanoid robotics autonomy, because we have this sensor suite that's just built into your face, right? It's cameras in every direction, has hand tracking, has human movement, has semantic understanding of the environment. It was just sort of coincidentally the perfect timing and perfect place for us. So maybe you could say we got lucky, but I think that each previous technology has sort of set us up for sort of the next wave, right? We couldn't have built Curator or anything that we're building today had we not built the previous technology that we had built. And so the only way for any company to really build this sort of physical AI approach is a company that kind of went down the path that we did. So hopefully that answers the question.
No, that was great. That was awesome. Well, we were just at about time. I want to pass the mic to Renji for closing thoughts. But before I do, as a reminder, I know tons of questions. We got to a lot. There was some overlap there, but please email us at invest@immersed.com, and we'll get to any remaining questions you have. So again, thank you to everyone for attending today. Ryan and Cliff, who I think hopped off because of maybe an internet issue. Happens to the best of us, and Renji. So thank you to everyone. Thank you for having me. Renji, I'll pass the mic over to you for final thoughts.
Yeah. Thanks so much for attending. Again, this refund around, people don't realize, is the discount to the Reg A Plus that we'll be filing in the next couple of months here. And so feel free to show your friends and family. We'll push out a recording of this so that you guys can send this to others who want to learn more about what Immersed is working on moving forward. Obviously, super excited for Visor to get to mass production later this summer as initial testers get it in their hands now. And AKA Founders Edition customers, for those of you who don't know what that is. But yeah, sort of moving forward, for us, we are looking for what it looks like for us to not just head towards traditional IPO or sell the company someday, but even a secondary sort of marketplace that this summer for early investors who want to sell some of their shares, all your shares. I'm just really excited for what it looks like for new investors to get in on board. And at the end of the day, I truly believe, and our team truly believes, that this is the next generation of computing, the next tech giant that, kind of, I just feel like I missed out on Tesla and Google and Apple and all these companies. And fortunately for us, we get to build the next one, we believe. So thank you guys so much for your support and love throughout the years. We'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.